Hello and welcome everyone to my channel where I offer fun guided art tutorials on the Procreate app using an iPad. I put out new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. If you have any ideas for me on how I can better my channel, please leave it down in the comments below. Alright, let's get into it. Step number 1, we're going to be creating a new canvas and we're just going to be doing a screen size for this one. Step number 2, we're going to download the color palette from the description box below. And then step number 3, we're going to be working on the sky and the clouds. So when we go into our layers section where it says background color, we're going to go to our custom palette that you've downloaded and insert the first color of the palette into the background. Next, we're going to select a brush from the inking section called Syrup. And then using the yellow color from the palette, we're just going to put in just the outline of some clouds. So when we have this done, we're going to drag and drop that color to fill this area. When we're done, we're going to go into the layers. We're going to select the cloud layer. It brings up a menu by clicking it, and we're going to select Alpha Lock. This allows us to just paint within this area. Then we go into the Elements section of the brush library, and we're going to select Clouds. And we're going to use this brush to add some texture to this area. I select a white color, and we're just going to brim the outside of the clouds with this white color, just adding some highlights. And then grabbing the next darker color, we're going to be adding shadowing, which to be honest is a lot of shadowing. At the end of this, we won't be seeing any of that bright yellow that we originally put in. So it's looking a little funky right now, but we're going to be adding layers on top of this. It's going to start looking better and better. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a layer. So I'm on layer number 2, and using that syrup brush and the first color in the second row, we're going to draw a horizon line just as a guide. Once you're happy with the horizon line, we can fill and drag and drop that color into that space. We're going to go back into our cloud layer. And when we go to the adjustments options on the top toolbar on the left-hand side, there's something called Gaussian blur. When we click on that, it allows us to drag our finger to left to right on the screen and adjust the blur. Here I'm going to set it to about 8%. I'm going to click the cloud layer, layer number 1, and that N you see there on the screen, it allows us to adjust the opacity, and I lowered it just a bit. Alright, step number 4, we're going to be working on the moon and the water. So this is a new layer, this should be the third layer, and here we're going to draw a half crescent or a half circle. And if you hold at the end of your drawing, it autocorrects to a perfect shape. And once you're happy with it, we can fill in that complete shape with that same yellow color. We're going to click that layer and alpha lock it like we did before. And using just a round brush from the painting section, I'm going to add just a little bit of lightening, a little bit of white just to lighten it up. So then I go and I add another layer. So I'm in layer number 4 here. And we're going to move that layer below the moon. We want the moon to be in the forefront of our painting. Using that same round brush we did before in the painting section, we're going to adjust the size to quite big, 38%, and we're going to use that yellow color that we did before as well. Very, very lightly. I add almost like, sort of like a glow of the moon. And you can go over a couple spots. We are going to blur this after, so we won't see any definitive lines. So I did just that. I went into that adjustment section at the top left-hand corner and we apply the Gaussian blur to about 10%. Then I jumped back to layer number 1, which was our cloud layer, and using the syrup brush and a white color, I wanted to accent a few points on these clouds where the light would be hitting. You don't want any hard lines, so try to dot and lift the brush or the pen, the Apple pen, as much as possible, just to add a very faint kind of highlighted line. So I used white where it was closer to the moon, and then I used yellow up top on the higher clouds. You can do whatever you feel looks best. I did go and I used the Gaussian blur to about, not very much, 2%. It's totally up to you whether you wanted to do that or not. I also went back into that haze layer or that glowing layer beneath the moon layer, using that round brush, and the first color on the middle row, I just wanted to darken up a few points in the sky. This is supposed to be nighttime, so I felt like it was a little too bright. I go and I use that Gaussian blur to about 5%. So you can see the sky is looking quite interesting now. All right, so in the elements section, there's an ocean brush, which is very handy. We're gonna go into our ocean layer, which for me is layer number 2, and using the first color on the middle row, I start kind of going side to side with the ocean brush. A few spots you can select to be darker, and then you can lift the pen in some spots just to add some variance. So next I pick the first color on the top row, and I just carry through that orange the orange that's in the sky, in a few spots in the water. And then I pick yellow just to carry through with the theme of colors. And this is where the reflection would be of the moon. So we're just gonna kind of keep it in the center of the painting. And then just to cap it off here, I just add a little bit of white in a few spots. All right, step number 5, we're gonna be adding the person in the boat, which I think makes this whole painting a little bit more interesting. We're gonna do that by adding another layer. So I'm in layer number 5. We're gonna go to the inking brush section and pick syrup again, because it's my favorite. And using one of the darker colors on the top row, we're gonna start etching in a boat. So you can do something like this, or if you have any other ideas that you want to do, you're more than welcome to be creative with it. Once you're happy with it, then we're gonna move on to the little man, and we're gonna give him some shoulders, his collar, and of course a head. That's very important. And then we're gonna drag and drop that color and fill this space here. Next, I added a fishing rod. So just a rod shape, and then some fishing line, And once you're happy with that, the last thing we're gonna do is go back into our ocean layer, which was the layer number 2, and we're gonna add some shadowing underneath the boat. Sorry for the noise in the background. We're having some rain and some wind currently. So using that ocean brush, I just go and add some, with that same dark color, add some shadowing underneath the boat. And this is pretty much it. I really appreciate you guys for following along, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and if you have any ideas for something I can do in the future, please leave it down in the comments below.